want. And I found others. I found another one.
Haven't you been here enough?
Usually just cooking for me and my girlfriend. It's just, most recipes are made to feed our basic.
That's true. I cook French food. Yeah, that's right.
So I had to reverse. I was just getting here thinking, I look at where this
We'll be getting started.
I hope he's ending at the same place he always does. Otherwise, I can drive ahead of me. Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? Let's see, where can we put that we do blocking this view? Put it over.
We could move. But what if it was just
Actually,
in this corner?
tell you, what's that? Put it up here.
I'm wondering if it was just in, if we just move it back or something. People just need the line of sight to the store.
See? No, I was never with TC. No, I was with the Ashbury
Susan.
Services.
Tell us, Susan.
We got bought out by Bandwidth. So the business unit is iNetwork, so sometimes we say iNetwork, but it's just one thing. So yep. Yeah, I haven't really moved.
Is that out of the way?
Yep.
To help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
TCS, she was just saying. Dash.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, you're not.
It's Bandwidth now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I keep wanting to call down. What's his name?
Level 3 is a big competitor of ours over on the
Okay, it's after 10 o'clock, so I want to thank everyone for being here. This is the 2012 Colorado 911 Issue Summit. I know most of you here. A few of you I don't recognize, but that doesn't mean we haven't met before. I apologize for that, but that's just the way I am. If you don't know me, my name is Daryl Branson. I'm the Executive Director of the Colorado 911 Resource Center, which is the primary organizer of the 911 Issue Summit. So I want to thank you all for being here today. Do have a fairly full agenda. For those of you who came early enough to enjoy the coffee service and the snacks outside, I hope you enjoyed that and had a chance to chat with your fellow 911 professionals out there in the hallway. There will be those should still be there at 10 o'clock, or excuse me, 11 o'clock when we take our break. It's 10 o'clock now. It's a little too early for a break. So I encourage you to take advantage of that while you're out there. We are technically not allowed to have any food or drink in this room, and I have not seen anybody do that here. Just so that you're aware of that stipulation. There is water out there. Water's fine. So if you get thirsty during the day, feel free to just go out right out here outside these doors. There's a couple coolers and grab yourself a ice cold water. First of all, if you didn't see the name tags, on the table right outside this door are name tags for anyone who registered before Wednesday of this week. If you registered after that, then you didn't get a name tag, but there's a place where there should be some blank name tags out there that you can fill in. And I would encourage you to do that just to help people know who each other are, so you can talk to each other out in the hall, because I think networking is one of the big benefits of events such as this one. We are webcasting today. Right now we have Jeff Irvin, who's the Executive Director for the Jefferson County Emergency Communications Authority. He's back in our video room playing cameraman for us. We do have several webcams in here. And we are recording both by the webcast, and I'm also recording on this handy cam over here. Jeff, say hi, so I know your mic works.
That's my front row. Hello, hello.
Jeff, because I'm going to keep the presentations, because the screen is kind of far back. Actually, I'm going to move some of these chairs up here. Since the screen is kind of far back, I'm going to keep the presentations on full screen. So Jeff will be monitoring the chat room on the webcast, and he'll let us know if anybody has any comments or questions on the chat room. Following today's presentation, it may take a couple days for me to get it all edited and get it online, but this will be available on the Resource Center website, along with PDFs or PowerPoints of any of the presentations that we have here today. Restrooms are out here into the hallway and to the left. Ladies' restroom is first, and then the men's restroom is after that. They're both on the left-hand side of the hallway. Just as you go out down here. We did have the refreshments. I talked about that already. Lunch will be downstairs, so if you go outside and if you take a right outside this door, take a first left like you're going back out into the lobby. Then on your left-hand side is a set of is a stairwell, and there's a sign that says "To the Food Court." You go down there, and there is a meeting room right off of the cafeteria at the bottom of the stairs, and that's where lunch will be today. Lunch is free, so enjoy it and make that another opportunity to network and talk to your fellow 911 professionals. I want to thank our sponsors today. We have a new category sponsor this year, Platinum level, and we do have two very generous sponsors that have taken us up on that. So thank you to CenturyLink and to TCS. I want to thank you both for your generous sponsorship. Also thank you to our silver sponsor, Relay Colorado 711, and Joe Benedetto. I want to let you know I appreciate your sponsorship. And our bronze sponsors, Nice Recording Systems and Mission Critical Partners are both our bronze sponsors. So again, thank you all to and if you represent any of those groups here today, would you please raise your hand? Everyone, just give them a round of applause, because it's our sponsors that allows us to do this every year and keep it free for you, the attendees. And that's important to us, because we want to make sure that everyone is able to attend this and make the most out of it. So I want to start today with some introductions. This is actually a recommendation that we've had at previous 911 summits, is that, yes, this is a symposium type of event, but there aren't that many people here, so we can take the time to actually go around the room and announce who we are and what agency we're with, kind of get an idea of where everyone's from and what brings you here today. So again, my name is Daryl Branson with the Colorado 911 Resource Center. You heard Jeff backstage, the invisible Jeff. He's with the Jefferson County Emergency Communications Authority. And I'm just going to pass this mic around. We do have to use the mic, by the way, because that's how the people on the webcast will hear us.
Ray Paddock from bandwidth.com.
And I'm Lynn Chariani with the Colorado PUC.
Susan Travis with the Colorado PUC.
Kyle Serrato with Pictometry International. Brian Kinley with Pictometry.
Vicky Demick with Gilbert County 911.
Kim Carroll with Denver 911.
Brian Blick with Denver 911.
Lisa Sorrentino with Golden PD.
Miranda Hines with Denver 911.
Jennifer Kirkland with Vail Public Safety Communications.
Larry Stein with VHPD.
Dave Bailey with CenturyLink.
Tracy Torres, Rockland County Sheriff.
Pam Stewart, Southwest Valley 911.
Mark Murphy, West Metro Fire.
Mark Pratt, West Metro Fire.
Dennis Stark. Colorado.
Denise Denise with Fort 911.
Mike
Jeff Wallace, Thornton 911.
Selena Hasso, Comcast. And that's still with Chaffey County Sheriff's Office.
Daryl Pratt, Chaffey County.
Maria Mitchell, Park County 911.
Steve Revolve with Smart 911.
Wes Warren, CenturyLink.
Troy Bring, El Paso Teller 911. Jim Anderson, El Paso Teller 911.
Lori Orr with Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
Lori Anderson, Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
Grace Rennes, Douglas County.
Cindy D, Castle Rock Police.
Jim Creighton, Microdata, TCS Company.
Tim Dunrocky, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office.
Paula Creasy, Grand Junction 911.
Monica Million, Grand Junction 911.
Jeremy Duncan, Grand Junction 911.
Carl Stevens, Garfield County Communications Authority.
Danette Martin, Morgan County 911.
Sheila Hastings, Morgan County 911.
Gina Gonzalez, City of Lakewood.
Laura Strangler, Lakewood. Jody Malpass, Lakewood.
Mary Sterling, out of fire.
They're all too spread out.
Jack Stutler, Greeley PD. Dave Mathis, Weld County Com.
Gabby Bromley, Arvada PD. Vicki Pickett, Arvada PD.
Monty Hefner, Broomfield PD.
Good morning, Eric Bergman with Colorado Counties Incorporated. For those of you who are from a county 911, I would love to get your business cards during the break because I'm trying to create a little network for me to bounce ideas off of or let people know about legislation. And I think I can safely say I am the least technologically savvy person in the room. I have an Amish kid come program my DVR for me, so please be patient with me today. Thanks.
John Gotzagan, Colorado Office of Information Technology.
That was hard to follow. Brian Shepard, OIT as well.
Sitting next to the OIT guys, maybe you get some osmosis.
Introduce yourself, come on.
And Barb Coffin, I'm an interpreter.
Glenna Cornish, an interpreter.
And I'm Joe Benedetta from the Colorado PUC. Relay Contract Administrator.
Where do we leave off?
Trina Everhart, Arapahoe County 911 Authority. Joanne Ryan, Littleton PD.
Jackie Louise with 911 Solutions.
Last one.
Bill Pessamir, Summit County Communications Center.
So just hearing from the introductions today, we've got people from all over the state. We have people representing 911 authorities, PSAPs, telecommunications carriers, other types of vendors for the PSAP environment. So we've got a great mix here today. People with state offices. So that's what I like to see because we want to be able to bring in as many different viewpoints as possible, especially for the panel discussions today. I expect everyone to at least come up with a question. We may not have time for everyone to ask a question, but at least come up with a question in your head, and maybe somebody else will ask it too. But that way I know that we're getting a nice, well-rounded discussion. A couple other thank yous while I'm thinking about it. I do have 3 board members here today from the Resource Center. Thank you very much. This is not possible without the dedicated volunteers on the Resource Center's Board of Directors, putting in their time to give direction and guidance on what they'd like to see. So thank you to my Board of Directors. Also thank you to Lynn who ran and got ice for me this morning for the water. I appreciate that.
It's outside the door.
It's outside the door. But I need to thank everyone who helped me, so that includes you. Appreciate it. Before we go on today, just a quick disclaimer. My comments and the comments of any of the other speakers here today as well do not represent the opinions of the Resource Center Board of Directors, the PUC 911 Advisory Task Force, the Public Utilities Commission, the State of Colorado, local 911 authorities, or the Public Safety Answering Points of Colorado. Moving on, we have our first item up today is a summary of information from the APCO conference. My Resource Center board actually is kind enough to send me to a number of national conferences every year. And in an effort to bring some of that information back to the people of the state, we're doing a number of things. Earlier, actually last month in August, I held a webinar to go over information that I brought back from two conferences, the National Association of State 911 Administrators, as well as the National Emergency Number Association's conference. So now is the time that I wanted to give just a few minutes to talk about some information that I gathered from the APCO conference. The idea is not to make it so that you don't have to go to the APCO conference, because if you've ever been to one of these large national conferences, you know there are multiple tracks, and I can only go to one track at a time. So I bring back what I can, but I would encourage you to actually think about going to one or more of the national conferences every year. It's a great way to find out how things are done in other states, to network with people from outside of Colorado. You can learn a lot that way about what is going on in other states, not necessarily how we can do things better, but maybe to reaffirm that we do some things right. It's always a good thing to get that affirmation.
Screen's not being shared on the web.
What was that, Jeff? You're real quiet.
Your screen's not being shared on the web.
It's not being shared on the web. Let me try something here then.
Secret.
Is it showing now?
That's got it.
Okay, great. So the APCO conference this year was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So talk a little bit about why I'm sharing this with you here today. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. I want to get to some fresh content today, especially for those of you who did go to the APCO conference. I wanted to spend a few minutes kind of going over what some of the information was that I brought back from APCO. One of the first, well, it was actually the first session that I went to. It was followed by another session that basically told me two different things about text to 911. And I found that kind of interesting because it seems like you know, a lot of the conference material that you pick up when you go to these national conferences, a lot of the presentation material that you pick up kind of originates with a lot of the vendors. And of course, the vendors want you to adopt technology as quickly as possible, and that could possibly be the right answer. But it was interesting to hear some differing opinions on that. The first two sessions I attended in the professional development tracks, one was from Intrado with the speaker John Snap, emphasizing the importance for preparing now for future technologies and getting ahead of the curve, and that included text to 911. The second was from Jim Kuthi of Criticalls. Anybody familiar with Jim? Dr. Kuthi? I've actually been to several of his presentations in the past. He actually was, if you've ever used Criticalls selection software for selecting employee or new hires, he actually was one of the primary people involved in putting that software together. He's a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. And he had, basically his presentation was an airing of some concerns that he has about overload of dispatchers. And the idea that with text to 911, as well as other types of next-gen 911 technologies, we may be in danger of overloading dispatchers with too many different sources of input. This actually isn't the first time I've heard that idea. I think it was the E911 Institute a couple of years ago that actually held a symposium on overload of 911 and overload of PSAPs with information from different areas. So it's something to consider, you know, when we talk about new technologies. I think the important thing here is, because there are differing opinions on whether overload of dispatchers in the PSAP environment may be an area of concern, but one thing that you can take away from this is that it's at least an area to be cognizant of, you know, to think about. Whenever we add something new to the PSAP, to be thinking about how does this affect workflow, how does this affect the workload of individual dispatchers and call takers. APCO's legislative liaison gave an update at one of their business meetings. Was talking primarily about the passage of H.R. 3630, which you'll hear come up several times today. H.R. 3630 was actually, it was a middle class jobs relief act or tax relief act or something. It had a very long title that had absolutely nothing to do with 911. But it had a lot of addendums, a lot of add-ons in that bill, and one of the add-ons had an extensive portion devoted to 911, but also to radio spectrum for public safety. And in fact, that's the bill that helped create another thing that you're going to hear about some today called FirstNet, the public safety wireless broadband network that has been undertaken as a goal of the federal government. The FCC has been working quite a bit on band plans along the Canadian and Mexican border. Actually issued a NPRM on the Canadian border plan recently because Colorado does not border either Mexico or Canada. It may not be of immediate importance to you, but if you're interested in those things, that's something that you'll want to check out. If you go to the APCO website and go to their legislative section, they do have a link to the NPRM from the FCC on that. One area of concern that APCO is currently investigating is a new type of service that some vendors are pursuing that is meant to be a disaster recovery plan for wireless networks, either public safety networks or otherwise, in disaster areas. How this would work is, how the plan works is they would have either tethered hot air balloons or some other type of aerial device that would basically create antenna in the sky to help bring a wireless network back online if the towers on the ground have been taken out by flood, hurricane, fires, what have you. One of the concerns that APCO has about this type of technology is that once you put the same network in the sky that was once on the ground, it may have a larger footprint and start causing interference in neighboring jurisdictions. So that's one thing that APCO is tracking right now. If you're interested in finding out more about that, I can get you links to their materials on that. Concerning text to 911, the FCC is expected to put out an NPRM. NPRM, by the way, is a notice of proposed rulemaking. It's basically a notice that they are planning on creating rules and they want input on what those rules might be. An NPRM/order on text to 911 by the end of September. I'm taking that with a grain of salt because it was the end of August and now they're saying the end of September and it's now almost the end of September. So your guess is as good as mine. I know, Ray, you track this stuff too. So,
just FYI, the FCC's next open meeting is on the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
It is not on that agenda. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's not on the agenda.
Right. So the next meeting is on the 28th, so 4 days from now.
Yeah, and
Yes,
Darryl, I don't know if it's at all controversial, but I know that the vast majority of any of the orders that we were expecting, we were told, are being put on hold till after the election because nobody wants to create any positions that might influence the election the wrong way.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about text to 911 as it might influence the elections, but you never know, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
So we may not see anything on that until after November, but earlier this summer it was said that the FCC was ready to make an order sometime during the summer, and now then it turned into August, then it turned into September, and now we'll see. But I would still be not surprised if we saw an order from the FCC by the end of this year. We don't know exactly what that'll look like. We don't know if it'll be an order that presents deadlines for PSAPs or just for the wireless carriers. But it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. We'll be tracking that at the Resource Center, and we'll let everybody know when that NPRM does come out. One of the other sessions that I went to was on non-traditional call centers. Non-traditional call centers are your call centers, your PSAPs that are not directly associated with a city or county or one of their responding agencies. This would include hospital campuses that might have their own 911 call center, which they rarely do, but sometimes they do. College campuses, which is a little bit more common. Airports, DIA has its own 911 call center, for example. Transit authorities, I don't think there are any here in Colorado, but in some states the toll booth authority for the interstate might have its own call center just for 911 calls that come from the highway. The technology differences is, first of all, is anybody here from one of those types of call centers? Anyone? And that's one of the issues involved with non-traditional call centers is they tend not to be as involved in 911 discussions with other PSAPs in the state because they are so different in the type of service that they provide. The technology that they have in their call centers is different. They're much more likely to have cameras that they also have to monitor, or things like ShotSpotter, which can detect gunshots in their response areas. Automated call boxes, things like that. So that's one of the things. If you know of one that's in your area, if you know, or if you think that there might be one in your area, if you don't know and you want to know if there's one in your area, get in touch with me and I can get you in touch with them. I think it's important that we start communicating with those non-traditional call centers and kind of bring them in, because things that happen in your PSAPs eventually are going to affect them as well. So that was kind of the takeaway that I took from that particular session. There was an address from the FCC Commissioner Jessica, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, ROS, well I guess I will try to pronounce it, does anybody know?
Rosenworkel.
Rosenworkel, okay. Looks like Rosenworcel, but it's Rosenworkel. Whose brother happens to be a drummer for a hit band that I found out. Anyway, her address promoted local input on the development of FirstNet. So remember I talked about FirstNet earlier. As FirstNet goes forward, and I know Brian Shepard from the Office of Information Technology is going to talk a little bit about that today. What Mrs. Rosenworkel really encouraged was that local input be a big part of that process as to what FirstNet is going to look like. She also talked about the large regional 911 outages that hit the East Coast earlier this year after the storms. Public Safety Bureau has been investigating outages and reported that one of the weakest links that caused the outages were backup generators that did not turn on like they were supposed to. And one of her big takeaways from her presentation was encouraging everyone to go back and test their backup generators. It's not any good to have a backup generator if it doesn't turn on when you need it. So make sure you're doing regular testing of your backup generators and know that they work like they're supposed to. In some cases, people have backups to their backup generators. Make sure those work as well. She talked about Next Generation 911, saying that progress was continuing to be made, but also emphasized that the FCC